In the heart of West Africa, a single gold bar is rewriting history. Burkina Faso, a country rich in gold but long overlooked, has just poured its first major industrial gold bar in decades. But here's the twist, it's staying right here, not heading abroad. Why does this bar matter? It's not just gold, it's the symbol of a revolution. A shift in power, ownership, and opportunity for the people of Burkina Faso. Stay tuned to discover how this gold is fueling a bold new future. Don't miss out, this is just the beginning. On June 30th, 2025, a new chapter was written in Burkina Faso's rich but troubled mining history. Deep in the southern part of the country, at the newly operational Kiaka gold mine, the first gold bar was poured. Weighing 5.7 kilograms, this wasn't just a chunk of metal, it was a symbol of a significant shift in power. In the past, gold from Burkina Faso had been mined, processed, and exported, mostly heading to countries like Switzerland, Dubai, and South Africa. But not this time. This gold bar was different. It stayed right where it was produced, right in the heart of the nation. And the implications go far beyond the value of the gold itself. This wasn't just about a successful mining operation, this was about a shift in the entire system. Burkina Faso has long been one of the world's leading gold producers, but for decades, its wealth from gold extraction didn't benefit the local population. Instead, foreign companies reaped the rewards while the people of Burkina Faso remained largely untouched by the mineral wealth beneath their feet. This cycle of extraction and capital flight is something the country is determined to change. The first gold bar poured at Kiaka was not just the beginning of a mining project, it was a declaration that Burkina Faso is no longer content with being the world's gold mine. The nation is now aiming to take control of its gold wealth. Burkina Faso's mining industry had long been governed by outdated laws that favored foreign corporations. But in 2024, under the leadership of President Ibrahim Traoré, the country undertook one of the most dramatic overhauls of its mining laws in Africa. The government of Burkina Faso now holds a stake in every new mining project, up to 30%. In the case of Kiaka, the government owns a 10% share, with the ability to increase its stake to 30% in the future. This gives Burkina Faso not just a seat at the table, but an actual voice in the decision-making process. The days of foreign corporations extracting Burkina Faso's resources without any local benefit are officially over. The company behind Kiaka, West African Resources, WAF, is an Australian-listed firm that took control of the project in 2021, purchasing a 90% stake from Canadian company B2 Gold. While this may seem like just another corporate takeover, something shifted between then and now. The government's new mining regulations and its active participation in the country's gold production mean that things are no longer business as usual. WAF, which once saw Burkina Faso's mining laws as a challenge, now embraces the changes. The company has successfully navigated the new regulatory landscape and delivered the first gold pour ahead of schedule and under budget, something rare in the mining industry. But what makes the Kiaka gold pour so significant isn't just the output of gold itself. It's what it represents. This gold bar marks the start of Burkina Faso's mining renaissance. For years, the country's vast gold reserves were exploited by foreign companies, and the wealth was taken out of the country. Now, Burkina Faso is determined to keep more of its wealth at home. The goal isn't just to extract gold but to process it, refine it, and sell it while ensuring the country retains a larger share of the profits. One of the most revolutionary aspects of Burkina Faso's new approach to mining is the creation of the National Gold Refinery. For decades, gold extracted from Burkina Faso's mines was shipped out to be refined in other countries. This meant that Burkina Faso saw only a small fraction of the value of its own gold. But with the construction of the national refinery in 2025, the country will no longer have to rely on foreign countries for gold refining. The refinery will have the capacity to process hundreds of kilograms of gold per day, ensuring that Burkina Faso retains control over the entire value chain, from extraction to processing. The refinery will also help eliminate one of the biggest problems in the industry, the underreporting and smuggling of gold. For years, gold has been extracted illegally and exported out of the country without any oversight, depriving the government of vital revenue. The national refinery will put an end to this, ensuring that all legally mined gold is processed and tracked within the country. Kiaka's success and the upcoming refinery are just the beginning of a broader transformation in Burkina Faso. The government has made it clear that the days of foreign dominance in the mining sector are over. Instead of being a passive participant in the extraction of its resources, Burkina Faso is becoming an active player in its own economic future. The next phase of this transformation is ownership. With the government now holding equity stakes in mining projects and processing facilities, it's no longer just about extracting wealth from the land, it's about controlling it, refining it, and using it to fuel national development. Burkina Faso's new mining laws and the national refinery are part of a broader plan to transform the country's economy. For years, the country has relied on gold as its primary source of export revenue, but this wealth has not translated into broad-based development. The infrastructure is crumbling, schools lack resources, and healthcare is underfunded. But now, the government is using its gold wealth to fund projects that will benefit the people of Burkina Faso. The gold from Kiaka, along with gold from other mines, will fund development projects in infrastructure, education, and healthcare. This is the true power of the gold revolution in Burkina Faso, not just the extraction of wealth, but the creation of a self-sustaining economy that benefits the people, not just the elites. As we look to the future, Burkina Faso's mining sector will continue to evolve, but one thing is certain: the country is no longer just a source of gold, it is a power in its own right. The world will be watching to see how this transformation unfolds, and whether Burkina Faso's bold new model will succeed in building a future where the wealth from its natural resources benefits everyone. Stay with us as we dive deeper into the next stages of this revolution in the next part of our video. As Burkina Faso's gold mining sector undergoes this dramatic transformation, one key question arises: who truly controls the wealth, and how is it being used? The new legal framework is a game changer, but it's not just about rewriting the rules, it's about shifting the power dynamics that have long been in favor of multinational corporations. The country's new mining code now mandates that the state can hold up to 30% of the equity in any new mining project, ensuring that Burkina Faso's government has more than just a regulatory role. For the first time in its modern mining history, Burkina Faso is making decisions not just as a passive player, but as a co-owner and partner in its own resources. And this shift in control isn't just symbolic, it's tangible. The Kiaka project, as a prime example, shows how the country is taking charge of its future. While foreign investors still play a crucial role, they do so under a framework where the Burkinabe government has a significant stake and influence. The success of Kiaka isn't just about the gold it's producing, it's about what that gold represents for the country's economic future. This gold bar isn't just an export, it's a symbol of self-determination. But there's even more at stake. Beyond the extraction of gold, the next frontier for Burkina Faso is refining. For decades, gold mined here was exported abroad, leaving the country with only a fraction of its true value. That era is ending. In 2025, Burkina Faso is setting up its first national gold refinery, which will process hundreds of kilograms of gold daily, turning raw gold into a finished product within its own borders. This move is revolutionary for several reasons. First, it ensures that Burkina Faso can control the entire value chain, from extraction to processing. No longer will the country rely on foreign refineries to refine its gold. More importantly, it allows Burkina Faso to keep more of the profits from its own resources. It's about cutting out the middlemen and keeping the wealth within the country. This shift is symbolic of a larger goal: to prevent the wealth generated by gold from simply flowing out of the country and enriching foreign companies, while leaving Burkina Faso behind. With the refinery set to open, the country is poised to keep the value of its gold at home, ensuring that the wealth generated from its resources contributes to the national economy, not just foreign shareholders. But Burkina Faso is not stopping there. The national refinery is just one piece of the puzzle. The country is also taking steps to ensure that its gold is no longer extracted by illegal means. For years, small-scale miners have been operating without proper licenses, often selling their gold through informal channels that bypass the country's regulations. This has led to massive revenue losses for the government and created an environment where smuggling, tax evasion, and illegal exports flourished. The government has now suspended small-scale gold export permits in an effort to curb these illegal practices. By doing so, Burkina Faso is taking control of its gold production from top to bottom, ensuring that all gold mined in the country passes through formal, regulated channels. This move is about more than just fighting illegal exports, it's about creating a more transparent and accountable system. The new rules ensure that Burkina Faso's gold is being tracked every step of the way, from extraction to export. With these changes, the government is ensuring that the profits generated by gold mining will be used for the benefit of the people, not just a few elite companies. One of the most exciting aspects of this shift is the creation of the National Mining Development Fund. This fund will be supported by mandatory contributions from mining companies, as well as profits from state-owned shares in gold mining operations. The purpose of the fund is to reinvest gold revenues into critical sectors such as infrastructure, education, healthcare, and rural electrification. These are the very areas that have long been neglected in Burkina Faso, even as gold continued to flow out of the country. By reinvesting gold wealth into these sectors, the government hopes to improve the lives of ordinary citizens and create a more equitable society. This fund could be a game-changer for Burkina Faso, providing the country with a sustainable way to build its future without relying on foreign aid or loans. But the impact of these changes isn't just economic, it's political. For years, Burkina Faso's economy was beholden to foreign investors, with multinational companies calling the shots. But now, the country is asserting its independence, and it's using its natural resources as leverage to secure better deals for the people. Burkina Faso is now seeking partnerships with countries like China, Russia, and Turkey, nations that are willing to invest in Burkina Faso's development without the exploitative terms that have defined the country's past. This shift is part of a broader reconfiguration of economic power in Africa, as nations like Burkina Faso seek to take control of their resources and use them to build stronger, more self-sufficient economies. And while critics may argue that this new model could alienate traditional Western partners or deter future foreign investment, the sentiment in Burkina Faso is clear: the country is ready to do things on its own terms. This new approach isn't just about extracting gold, it's about creating a new economic model that prioritizes the people of Burkina Faso. The real question now is whether Burkina Faso can turn its gold wealth into long-term development. If the country can successfully channel its gold revenues into infrastructure, education, healthcare, and job creation, it will not only break the cycle of resource extraction but will also set a powerful example for other African nations. But if the wealth is mismanaged, if corruption takes hold, or if the benefits are again captured by a small elite, then Burkina Faso's gold revolution will be nothing more than a missed opportunity. The next stage of this transformation will depend on the government's ability to use its newfound wealth wisely and ensure that the benefits reach the people who need them the most. Will Burkina Faso succeed in building a new model of development, or will it fall into the same traps that have plagued other resource-rich nations? As Burkina Faso's gold revolution continues to unfold, the focus shifts toward the long-term impacts of these changes on the country's overall economy. The creation of the National Mining Development Fund is not just a financial strategy, it's a critical tool for transforming the country's socio-economic landscape. The fund will be directly fed by revenues from the gold mining industry, including mandatory contributions from mining companies and profits from state-owned stakes in mining projects. This is a significant departure from the past, where gold revenues flowed mostly into the coffers of multinational corporations or were lost due to smuggling and illegal exports. Now, Burkina Faso has a direct stake in how its gold wealth is utilized, ensuring that the profits generated by its natural resources are reinvested into the country's most pressing needs. This approach holds the potential to drastically improve the country's infrastructure, healthcare, and education systems, sectors that have been historically underfunded, despite the country's reliance on gold exports. For decades, Burkina Faso has struggled with inadequate roads, a lack of access to quality education, and limited healthcare services, even as its gold resources enriched foreign companies. The National Mining Development Fund could be the catalyst for change, providing the resources needed to fix these critical issues and build a more sustainable future for the country's population. However, the challenge lies in ensuring that these funds are used effectively and transparently. There is a fine line between empowering the government to use its resources for national development and opening the door for mismanagement and corruption. For this model to succeed, Burkina Faso must establish strong oversight mechanisms, ensuring that the wealth generated from gold mining is allocated where it is needed most. Beyond domestic improvements, the development of Burkina Faso's gold industry is also likely to have regional implications. As the country strengthens its control over its resources, it will increasingly be in a position to influence the broader West African mining landscape. Burkina Faso has already demonstrated its ability to attract foreign investment, but as the country's mining industry becomes more self-sufficient, it will have greater leverage in negotiations with international partners. This shift could allow Burkina Faso to renegotiate existing contracts, ensuring that foreign companies working in the country contribute more significantly to local development. Burkina Faso's rise as a regional mining powerhouse will also offer new opportunities for local businesses. As the mining industry expands, there will be increased demand for local contractors, service providers, and skilled workers. This could create a ripple effect throughout the country's economy, fostering the growth of new industries and increasing employment opportunities for the local population. The long-term success of Burkina Faso's gold revolution will depend on its ability to diversify its economy, moving away from an over-reliance on gold exports and creating a more resilient economic base. With the new mining regulations in place, the government is ensuring that the country's gold wealth is not just extracted and exported but is used to fuel long-term development. The national refinery, set to open in 2025, will play a pivotal role in this transformation, allowing Burkina Faso to keep more of its gold at home, process it domestically, and capture more value from its resources. By creating this closed-loop system, the country can reduce its dependency on foreign processors, keep a larger share of the profits, and invest more in infrastructure and other key sectors. Furthermore, the refinery offers a degree of economic sovereignty that Burkina Faso has long lacked. For decades, the country's gold was refined in other countries, often with little transparency or accountability. The national refinery will give Burkina Faso full control over the refining process, ensuring that the value of its gold is fully captured within the country. This control over the gold supply chain will allow Burkina Faso to set its prices, reduce the risk of fraud, and eliminate the loopholes that have previously allowed foreign companies to benefit at the expense of the country. But beyond the financial benefits, there's a psychological shift happening in Burkina Faso. For years, the country's gold wealth was seen as a resource that benefited everyone but the people who lived on the land. Now, the government is working to change that narrative. By creating a more transparent and accountable mining system, Burkina Faso is not just extracting gold, it's making sure that the wealth generated by this gold is used to improve the lives of its citizens. The construction of the national refinery, the creation of the National Mining Development Fund, and the increased state participation in mining projects are all part of a broader effort to shift power back to the people. This is a bold move, but it is a necessary one. Burkina Faso cannot afford to continue being a source of raw materials for foreign countries without gaining more control over its own resources. The country is at a crossroads, and the choices it makes now will determine its future. If the government can effectively manage its newfound wealth, Burkina Faso could become a model for other African nations looking to leverage their natural resources for sustainable development. But this transformation won't happen overnight, and the challenges are significant. Burkina Faso must continue to build trust with its citizens, attract responsible foreign investment, and ensure that its gold wealth is used wisely. If successful, the country could become a beacon of hope for other nations that have struggled to harness the full potential of their natural resources. The story of Burkina Faso's gold revolution is still unfolding, and the world is watching closely. Can this small West African country truly transform its mining sector, empower its people, and create a more equitable future? Or will it fall short, allowing the gold to flow out once again, with little benefit for the people who have lived with it for so long? The answer to that question will depend on the choices made in the coming years. Burkina Faso is no longer waiting for permission to shape its future, it is taking charge of its own destiny. This is a story of empowerment, resilience, and transformation. And it's only just beginning. As Burkina Faso continues to reshape its gold mining industry, the global implications of this transformation are becoming clearer. The country is positioning itself not only as a leader in West Africa's gold sector but as a model for resource-rich nations around the world. By taking control of its gold production and refining, Burkina Faso is demonstrating that it is possible to harness natural resources in a way that benefits the local population while still maintaining a profitable relationship with international investors. This shift in approach is significant not just for Burkina Faso, but for other African nations that have long struggled with the challenges of foreign extraction, weak regulations, and capital flight. Burkina Faso is proving that it doesn't have to be at the mercy of multinational corporations. Instead, it can use its natural wealth to fuel development, strengthen governance, and create a sustainable economy. The success of Kiaka is a clear example of how a foreign company, like West African Resources, can work within the confines of new, stronger regulations and still deliver results. This sets a precedent for future mining projects in Burkina Faso and across Africa. It shows that responsible mining, done in partnership with the state, can benefit everyone. However, the real challenge lies in how Burkina Faso can scale this success and replicate it across other industries. The mining sector is just one piece of the puzzle. For the country to truly achieve long-term economic stability, it must look beyond gold and diversify its economy. This requires a concerted effort to invest in infrastructure, education, agriculture, and technology, areas that have been neglected for too long. Gold wealth, if managed correctly, can serve as the foundation for this diversification. With the National Mining Development Fund in place, Burkina Faso has a tool that can help kickstart development in these sectors. But the country's leadership must continue to push for transparency, accountability, and good governance to ensure that this wealth translates into real progress. This will require strong institutions and a commitment to tackling corruption, which has long been a barrier to effective governance in many resource-rich countries. Another crucial element in this transformation is the role of international partnerships. While Burkina Faso is no longer willing to accept foreign dominance in its gold sector, it recognizes that international collaboration is still essential for the development of its economy. Burkina Faso's strategic shift towards partnerships with countries like China, Russia, and Turkey reflects a growing desire to build a more independent and diverse set of relationships on the global stage. These nations are not just offering investment, they're offering a different model of development, one based on mutual benefit rather than exploitation. As Burkina Faso strengthens its ties with these nations, it's signaling to the world that it is no longer solely reliant on traditional Western powers for economic growth. This is a bold move, but it is one that could offer significant rewards for Burkina Faso in the long term. By seeking out new partners and exploring new avenues for development, Burkina Faso is positioning itself as a rising power in Africa. However, with these new opportunities comes increased responsibility. Burkina Faso's government must ensure that these partnerships lead to tangible benefits for the country's citizens. It cannot afford to repeat the mistakes of the past, where foreign companies reaped the rewards while the people suffered. The country's leadership must remain vigilant in ensuring that these new alliances align with the country's long-term development goals. But the question remains, will Burkina Faso be able to fully capitalize on this new era of economic independence? The country has already made significant strides, but the challenges ahead are still considerable. Diversifying the economy, improving infrastructure, and addressing issues like education and healthcare will require sustained effort and investment. Moreover, the country must continue to build and strengthen its institutions, ensuring that they are capable of managing the wealth generated from gold mining and other sectors. One of the most exciting aspects of Burkina Faso's transformation is the potential for the country to become a leader in sustainable resource management. By taking control of its gold refining process, Burkina Faso is setting an example for other nations that rely on the extraction of natural resources. Instead of simply exporting raw materials, Burkina Faso is ensuring that its resources are processed, refined, and used to benefit the people of the country. This is a model that could be replicated across other resource-rich nations in Africa and beyond. By focusing on domestic processing, Burkina Faso is not only capturing more value from its resources but also creating jobs, building infrastructure, and strengthening its economy. This is the future of resource management, and Burkina Faso is leading the way. As the national refinery begins operations and the National Mining Development Fund begins to disperse its resources, Burkina Faso will be at the forefront of a new era in African development. The country is no longer just a source of raw materials, it is becoming a center of innovation, a hub for sustainable development, and a model for other nations to follow. This transformation is far from complete, and the road ahead will be challenging, but Burkina Faso is laying the foundation for a brighter, more self-sufficient future. The world will be watching as the country continues to turn its gold into a source of lasting prosperity for its people. Whether Burkina Faso succeeds or falters, one thing is certain, it is no longer waiting for permission to shape its own future. The gold revolution is just the beginning. What happens next will determine whether Burkina Faso becomes a shining example of resource-driven development or falls into the same traps that have hindered other nations. The stakes are high, but the potential rewards are even greater. The story of Burkina Faso's transformation is still being written, and the world is watching closely. Will the country achieve its goals and become a beacon of hope for the rest of Africa, or will it fall short? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain, the journey has only just begun. As Burkina Faso advances in its mission to reshape its gold industry and economic future, it faces both immense opportunities and challenges. One of the most crucial aspects of this transformation is the country's ability to maintain momentum and ensure that the wealth generated from its natural resources is distributed equitably. The creation of the National Mining Development Fund marks a pivotal moment in this journey. By channeling mining revenues into critical infrastructure, education, healthcare, and rural development, the country can begin to address long-standing issues of poverty and inequality. However, success in this area will depend on the government's ability to ensure transparency and accountability. The fund must be managed efficiently, with clear guidelines on how the money will be spent and how it will benefit the people of Burkina Faso. Without robust oversight, there is a real risk that the wealth generated by gold will be mismanaged or diverted, leaving the country in the same position it has been in for decades, rich in resources but poor in development. For this reason, it's essential that Burkina Faso continues to build strong institutions that can manage the wealth effectively and create a more sustainable, diversified economy. The mining sector alone cannot be the foundation for long-term prosperity. To avoid becoming overly dependent on one resource, Burkina Faso must focus on economic diversification. Agriculture, tourism, technology, and manufacturing all offer significant potential for growth. The country has already made strides in agriculture, with vast fertile lands that can be utilized to produce food and cash crops for both local consumption and export. Diversifying the economy will not only reduce Burkina Faso's reliance on gold but will also create a more resilient economy, less susceptible to the fluctuations of global commodity prices. Additionally, the development of the national refinery presents an opportunity for Burkina Faso to become a hub for gold processing in West Africa. The The refinery will give the country full control over the gold production process, from extraction to final product, allowing Burkina Faso to capture more of the value that was previously lost when gold was exported raw. This move not only creates jobs in the refining sector but also strengthens the country's position in global gold markets, giving it more bargaining power and the ability to negotiate better terms with international partners. However, it's important to remember that economic transformation is not just about wealth, it's about how that wealth is used to improve the lives of the people. For the gold revolution to succeed, the government must ensure that the benefits of mining are felt by all segments of the population. This includes ensuring that rural communities, where much of the gold is mined, benefit from infrastructure development, education, and job creation. As the government invests in new industries and diversifies the economy, it must also prioritize the needs of its citizens, ensuring that everyone has the opportunity to share in the country's success. One of the biggest challenges for Burkina Faso will be overcoming the historical patterns of inequality that have plagued the country. For decades, the wealth generated by gold and other natural resources was concentrated in the hands of a few, with little trickling down to the wider population. The government's challenge now is to break this cycle and ensure that the country's wealth is shared more equitably. This will require a concerted effort to build a fairer, more inclusive society, where every Burkinabe has the opportunity to benefit from the country's resources. Despite the challenges, the potential rewards of Burkina Faso's transformation are immense. If the government can successfully manage its gold wealth, diversify the economy, and ensure that the benefits are shared equitably, the country has the potential to become a shining example of resource-driven development. This is not just about gold, it's about building a sustainable, self-sufficient economy that can weather global economic shifts and provide long-term prosperity for its people. The world is watching Burkina Faso closely, as it sets an example for other resource-rich countries in Africa and beyond. By focusing on transparency, governance, and the responsible management of its resources, Burkina Faso has the opportunity to break free from the cycle of poverty and become a leader in the continent's economic development. The next few years will be critical in determining whether Burkina Faso's gold revolution leads to lasting change or becomes another missed opportunity. As the country continues to build its national refinery, diversify its economy, and strengthen its institutions, the people of Burkina Faso will be at the heart of this transformation. The ultimate question remains, will Burkina Faso's gold wealth fuel a brighter future for all its citizens, or will it fall short of its potential? The answer to this question lies in the decisions made by the country's leaders and the ability of its people to hold them accountable. For now, Burkina Faso has taken the first steps on a long and challenging journey. The gold revolution is far from over, and the world will be watching to see how the country navigates the road ahead. Will Burkina Faso rise to the challenge and create a new economic model that empowers its people, or will it fall victim to the same forces that have held back other resource-rich nations? Only time will tell, but the foundation has been laid, and the potential for success is real. Burkina Faso's future is in its own hands, and the world is waiting to see what happens next. As Burkina Faso's gold revolution enters its next phase, the spotlight shifts to how the country can build on its early successes and ensure long-term sustainability. One of the most critical areas of focus will be the development of a robust and diversified economy. While the gold industry will remain a cornerstone of the country's economy for the foreseeable future, it is essential that Burkina Faso takes steps to reduce its reliance on a single resource. This means investing in other sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, and technology, all of which offer opportunities for growth. Agriculture, in particular, presents a significant opportunity for Burkina Faso, as it has vast arable land that is underutilized. By modernizing its agricultural sector, the country could increase food production, create jobs, and reduce its dependence on imported goods. This would also contribute to food security and improve the livelihoods of rural communities, which have long been neglected in favor of the booming gold industry. Developing a strong manufacturing base is another key goal for Burkina Faso. The country's growing infrastructure, bolstered by gold revenues, could support the development of industries such as construction, textiles, and consumer goods. This would not only create jobs but also help to diversify the economy, reducing the risk of being too dependent on fluctuating commodity prices. Additionally, Burkina Faso has the potential to become a hub for regional trade, connecting neighboring countries through improved infrastructure and transportation networks. One area where the country is already making strides is in the development of its technological infrastructure. With the rise of digital economies worldwide, Burkina Faso has an opportunity to position itself as a leader in the tech sector by investing in education and innovation. Establishing tech hubs and fostering local startups could create a new wave of economic growth, particularly among the youth, who are eager for new opportunities. These efforts to diversify the economy will require significant investment, but the resources generated by Burkina Faso's gold industry, along with the National Mining Development Fund, provide a solid foundation. The country must continue to prioritize long-term investments that will benefit future generations, ensuring that gold wealth is not just a fleeting opportunity but a springboard for broader development. The creation of the national refinery also signals the country's commitment to adding value to its natural resources and ensuring that a greater portion of the wealth generated from gold remains within Burkina Faso. By refining gold domestically, the country can increase its share of the gold value chain, attract investment, and create new jobs. The refinery will also serve as a model for other African nations that rely on raw resource extraction and are looking for ways to add value to their products. But while these efforts are important, Burkina Faso's success in achieving sustainable development will depend on the ability of its government and institutions to manage this newfound wealth effectively. Good governance will be crucial in ensuring that the benefits of Burkina Faso's gold industry are shared equitably among its people. The government must continue to strengthen its institutions and enforce policies that promote transparency and accountability. This means tackling corruption, improving the legal framework, and ensuring that revenues from the gold industry are spent wisely. The National Mining Development Fund will play a pivotal role in this effort, but it will require strong oversight to ensure that funds are used for their intended purposes. The country's leadership must also remain committed to creating an inclusive economic environment where all citizens, particularly those in rural areas, can benefit from the country's growth. Education will be a key area of focus, as it will equip the next generation with the skills needed to thrive in a modern, diversified economy. The country has already made progress in expanding access to education, but much more needs to be done to ensure that all Burkinabe have the tools they need to succeed. One of the key lessons that Burkina Faso must take from its gold revolution is the importance of leveraging its natural resources responsibly. For too long, countries rich in resources have struggled to translate that wealth into meaningful development. Burkina Faso has the chance to break that cycle and create a new model for resource management that benefits its citizens, rather than foreign corporations or elites. By focusing on domestic value-added industries, investing in infrastructure, and prioritizing social development, Burkina Faso can ensure that its gold wealth leads to lasting prosperity. The country is also in a unique position to lead the way in sustainable mining practices. As global attention increasingly turns toward environmental and social governance, Burkina Faso's mining industry could set an example by adopting responsible mining practices that minimize environmental damage and maximize local benefits. This would help to attract ethical investors and improve the country's reputation on the global stage. But the path forward will not be without obstacles. Burkina Faso must continue to navigate the complexities of global markets, managing its relationships with foreign investors, and ensuring that it maintains a fair share of the wealth generated by its resources. It must also address the challenges posed by the informal mining sector, which continues to operate outside the formal economy and contribute to issues such as smuggling, tax evasion, and unsafe working conditions. The government's decision to suspend small-scale gold export permits is a step in the right direction, but more needs to be done to integrate informal miners into the formal economy and provide them with the resources and support they need to operate legally and safely. The success of Burkina Faso's gold revolution will ultimately depend on its ability to balance economic growth with social inclusion, environmental sustainability, and good governance. If the country can manage its gold wealth wisely and use it as a tool for broader development, it has the potential to become a leading example of resource-driven development in Africa. The gold revolution is just one part of Burkina Faso's larger transformation, and the next phase of this journey will be crucial in determining whether the country can turn its gold wealth into lasting prosperity. The world will be watching as Burkina Faso continues its quest for economic independence and development. The question remains, will Burkina Faso's gold revolution lead to a brighter, more prosperous future for its people, or will it fall short of its potential? The answer to that question lies in the decisions that the country's leaders make in the coming years. For now, Burkina Faso has taken a bold step toward a new future, and the world is waiting to see how the story unfolds. As we reach the final chapter of Burkina Faso's gold revolution, the country stands at a crucial crossroads. Having made significant strides toward economic self-sufficiency, it is now tasked with ensuring that its newfound wealth benefits not just a few, but all of its citizens. The gold revolution has already sparked a wave of change, but the ultimate question is whether Burkina Faso can sustain this momentum and use its gold wealth to fuel long-term development. The creation of the National Mining Development Fund is a vital step in this direction. By channeling mining revenues into infrastructure, education, healthcare, and rural development, Burkina Faso has the opportunity to break free from its history of underdevelopment. However, to truly succeed, the government must continue to prioritize transparency, good governance, and accountability. The National Mining Development Fund must be managed effectively to ensure that the wealth generated from gold mining is used wisely, benefiting all Burkinabe, especially those in rural areas who have long been neglected. The focus on economic diversification is another key factor in Burkina Faso's success. Gold will remain a cornerstone of the economy, but the country must reduce its reliance on a single resource. Diversifying into sectors like agriculture, technology, and manufacturing will provide new opportunities for growth and help the country weather the fluctuations of global commodity prices. Burkina Faso has the resources to become a regional leader in these areas, and the government's efforts to invest in infrastructure, education, and innovation will be essential for building a more resilient economy. The establishment of the National Gold Refinery is also a pivotal moment in the country's transformation. By processing its own gold, Burkina Faso is capturing more value from its resources and ensuring that a larger share of the wealth stays within the country. This move also positions Burkina Faso as a potential hub for gold processing in West Africa, attracting investment and creating jobs. It is a clear statement that the country is no longer content to simply export its wealth. It is taking control of its resources and using them to build a better future. But even as Burkina Faso moves forward, it must remain vigilant. The road ahead is not without its challenges. The informal mining sector continues to operate outside the formal economy, contributing to issues like smuggling and unsafe working conditions. To address this, the government must work to integrate informal miners into the formal economy, providing them with the support they need to operate legally and safely. The country must also focus on strengthening its institutions, ensuring that the wealth generated from gold mining is used to promote social inclusion, environmental sustainability, and economic growth. This will require continued investment in education, healthcare, and infrastructure, areas that have long been neglected but are essential for creating a more equitable society. In the end, the success of Burkina Faso's gold revolution will depend on the government's ability to manage its resources effectively and prioritize the needs of its people. The country has the potential to break free from the cycle of poverty that has held it back for so long, but it must remain focused on its long-term goals. If Burkina Faso can successfully leverage its gold wealth to build a more diversified, resilient, and inclusive economy, it will become a model for other resource-rich nations. The world will be watching to see how Burkina Faso's story unfolds, and the country has the opportunity to inspire others who are looking to harness their natural resources for the benefit of their people. Burkina Faso is no longer just a source of gold, it is a beacon of hope for a new era of development in Africa. But this transformation is just the beginning. The future is still uncertain, and the country must continue to navigate the complexities of global markets, governance, and development. The decisions made in the coming years will determine whether Burkina Faso's gold revolution leads to lasting prosperity or becomes another missed opportunity. For now, the country stands at the threshold of a brighter future, with the potential to transform its gold wealth into a lasting source of national strength. As Burkina Faso continues to move forward, the world is watching closely. The choices made today will shape the country's future for generations to come. Burkina Faso has taken the first steps toward a new chapter, and the world waits to see how its story will unfold. The gold revolution is far from over. What happens next will determine whether this bold vision for a self-sufficient, prosperous Burkina Faso becomes a reality.